It's pretty common to see murals repainted and replaced in areas like Shoreditch in London. But what happens when a third-party agency comes into town and paints over something of perceived cultural significance? Fast food supergiant McDonalds recently found out the answer to this in Cardiff, Wales, when the third-party agency they had hired began to replace this image of a mother-to-be Cardiff City fan with an advert for the new burger restaurant. Let's dig into this story a little bit further right here, right now, for the very first time in 2022. My name's Doug. You're watching Fifth Wall TV.
I was devastated that they were going to paint on our wall. And I advised them, stressed them that you guys shouldn't paint on our wall.
The original image in question was a mural painted back in April 2020, forming part of a wider campaign to champion diversity in football supporters, led by the agency Unify Creative.
Okay, my name's Yusuf. I'm a creative director of Unify. Unify Creative is basically a platform for us to express our ideas, which relate to like social commentary in a sense. Like a lot of our work is rooted in, communities, the Black and the brown experience. Our most notable, our most prominent campaign is the My City, My Shirt. I'm Black, my partner's brown. We're very passionate about football, right? If you go to a lot of stadiums around the country, a lot of the supporters are predominantly white, right? And we just wanted to encourage people of color to attend football matches and to identify with their local clubs in a cool way. Like there's no people of color in the stands. There's people of color on the pitch, but nobody in the stands. So how could we address that? So we created this campaign. Campaign done incredibly well. So we decided to take the key photograph, the most important photograph, of a woman by the name of Maimuna, who's, an African woman who was pregnant, who's wearing a Cardiff City shirt with a head wrap. Recreate that photograph as a mural on a 3-story building right in the heart of Cardiff, in a town called Butetown, which is the oldest Black community in Wales. The city embraced. They took ownership of it. It really became a monument as opposed to a mural. Last week, or the week before, we get a call from an agency, and they say to us that McDonalds are looking to bring a promotion here to Cardiff. We're looking at several sites, and we're looking at another site that we use. So we have another mural in the city centre. The mural was for a campaign by Adidas. They said, is it okay for us to use the wall? We say, sure, absolutely. The campaign has come to an end. There's a McDonald's in close proximity. It's not a problem, right? It's a bit of a shame, but again, we understand, right? Like, it was an advertising wall. Then that was on like a Wednesday night. Then I get a call on Thursday night from the same agency saying that we've decided to use another wall. We're looking to use that wall in Butetown, which has that photograph of Maimuna, the woman who's pregnant wearing a Cardiff City shirt. And we're going to paint on it this coming Saturday. I told them expressly, like very clearly, I told them that leave that wall alone because that wall is an extremely sensitive site. They decided to ignore my requests, and then they decided to paint on it Saturday, the following Saturday. And before you knew it, politicians were speaking on it, and then McDonald's decided to stop the painting of that promotion. And that's where the controversy came from.
The story started to pick up enough momentum, taking it from local to national. This opened up a whole world of buck passing, blaming, and finger pointing, but what it effectively came down to was the responsibility of this nameless third-party agency. In all the reports I've seen, this third-party agency have done well to keep their name out of the press. However, it has come to my attention that Global Street Art were in fact behind this mural, an agency that continue again and again to find themselves at the center of these discussions. Any long-time fans of this channel will know that this isn't the first time I've mentioned the name Global Street Art. I almost didn't put this video together because of the fact that I've mentioned them so many times in the past. But when I saw the story go from local to national, it kind of reinforced a lot of the comments that I've made here in the past. Now that the dust is largely settled on this story, I wanted to use this video to elaborate a little bit on some of the areas that I felt were maybe a little underexplored in the reporting. I should point out as well that I have actually reached out to Global Street Art for an interview or for a comment. At this point in time, they have neglected to respond, although as always, the invitation remains open should they want to discuss this further.
We've just come out of a pandemic, a global pandemic, where the entire world effectively stopped, right? And then on top of that, there's the whole Black Lives Matter movement, right? So there's a lot of angst, a lot of pain swirling in the air. Once that mural was created, it was a representation of Cardiff in a new light, in a new reality. It was like the dawn of a new age almost, because this is the first significant piece of art in a city, which is a capital city of a country, which, was very reflective of that particular moment of time, right? That's why the whole city, the whole country embraced it, right? For it to be replaced by a burger promotion was just like insulting on so many levels for so many people. The street art scene has its own issues. It's male dominated, white male dominated as well. And it's very much in need of diversity. And diversity, again, is something that really works, I think, in any capacity, in every capacity, because let's just say if it's a product, right? Let's say street art was a product from one source, then it's only so far it could go, right? If you're having, people of different backgrounds, of different generations, young, old, black, white, sexual orientations, religions, involved in this beautiful discipline, then it can only further the art. You got to look for the silver lining in it. And I'm hoping going forward that, this controversy is gonna, bring positive energy, resources, so we can develop that art scene here in Cardiff and here in Wales.
The industry of corporate muralism just now has a real air of heyday 80s Wall Street behind it, or sort of real estate market pre-2008, just before everything blew up. There's a real element to the practices of agencies like this where it feels kind of like the cowboys of the Wild West, just out on the frontier, claiming land for their own, failing to acknowledge what already existed there before. Pew pew! Whilst the vast majority of murals like this go largely unnoticed and unreported, particularly in areas like Shoreditch where the audience has just become so desensitized to this. And because of this, I think it's particularly important that we do pay attention when people do start speaking out about the impact that these murals have in their community. Personally, I believe that this mural went ahead because in the eyes of this agency, there's no difference between a McDonald's advert and a diversity campaign, because messaging and community are completely irrelevant in a game of content and numbers. What this mural does highlight is the very detailed but significant difference between paint-by-numbers agencies like the one behind this McDonald's mural and the grassroots community-driven organizations like Unify Creative. Both the My City, My Shirt mural and the proposed McDonald's advert are examples of funded corporate muralism. The difference between the two lies in who is behind the campaigns. What you did see from the backlash of this proposed McDonald's advert was that the My City, My Shirt mural, despite being what I would call a corporate mural, had managed to embed itself successfully within public opinion. And I don't think this has anything to do with the aesthetic or the quality of work. I think it comes from a place of deep consideration and reflection into the type of visual messaging being put on the street. And most importantly, it comes from support from the voices driving this.
The agency who were involved, like to promote themselves as people who are from the scene, and if they're from the scene and they have any integrity, then they couldn't surely be able to do something like that. It's like, if you respect street art and stuff like that, and have any integrity about the street art scene and what it means, then you can't, be, you wouldn't be able to go and paint over a work of art like that. I think it took us about 3.5 days to do. And I think maybe on the second day, there was 4 middle-aged black women who were just watching us work on it from the other side of the road. They watched us for like a significant period of time. This has been like over like 20 minutes. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to go over and introduce myself. Maybe like they want one of us to speak to them. So I went over and introduced myself and then give them a little bit of an breakdown of what we're trying to do. And one of the women stopped me and she said, like, this is such an emotional moment for me. I said, like, what do you mean? She goes, to see something like this, I'm from Bhutan. I've been Bhutan born and raised, right? I've been here since, I think she said 60s? And I've never seen something like this. And that's when I understood the significance of the work.
So what's happening with that wall?
That wall, well, I think the owner thinks it's a bit of a payday, and he's going to be looking to lease it out to other advertising companies. It's going to become an advertising wall, and yeah.
As an audience, I believe that we respond differently to seeing a mural in the street to seeing a billboard. And I think this is what this type of corporate muralism is really tapping into, and sometimes I would argue even exploiting. By its very nature, capitalism is about finding the most efficient way to maximize profit. And I think this is far more obvious in agencies operating in areas that they have no real vested interest into. The biggest amount of profit for the least amount of work in as many cities as possible. This kind of muralism is so far ahead of any regulation or legal restriction. The only people that are really able to hold agencies like this to account are the people that stand up and call it out when they see it. I think she really hit the nail on the head when Rebecca Wilkes referred to this as cultural vandalism. The agencies pitching for these walls know the absolute power of this public real estate, and so do the investment firms pumping money into them. To their credit, within hours of hearing about this story, McDonald's had ordered the advert to be scrapped and for the original one to be restored. That shows the power that the public have to be able to control the visual messaging around us. With this, all I really want to do is encourage people to consider what they're seeing around them in a proactive way. And I'll leave you with this. If McDonald's can unequivocally apologize for the mess that this mural created, why can't the third-party agency do the same? My name's Doug. This was Fifth Wall TV.